The wind blew dust across the empty street as Alina tightened the thin shawl around her shoulders, trying to shield herself from the cold. Hunger gnawed at her stomach with a sharpness that felt almost personal, like an enemy that had chosen her alone. She hadn't eaten since yesterday morning, and even that meal had been nothing more than a piece of bread soaked in water. But the real ache wasn't in her stomach. It was in her heart. Because today, she was about to do something she had sworn she would never do. She was going to sell her last treasure, the only thing she had left from her mother. The small velvet pouch felt heavy in her hand even though it weighed almost nothing. Inside it lay a delicate silver bracelet, its charm shaped like a tiny star. Her mother had given it to her on her 13th birthday, whispering that she believed Alina would one day shine in the world, no matter how dark things seemed. For years, Alina had kept it close, refusing to sell or even pawn it, even when life became cruel enough to make her sleep hungry. But today she had no choice. Her younger brother Zane was sick, feverish, unable to stand without trembling. She had begged the pharmacist for medicine, but he had simply shaken his head and pointed to the price list. Money first, sympathy later. That's how the world worked for people like her. Alina walked toward the old market square, her footsteps slow, almost hesitant but determined. She had made up her mind. If her mother were alive, she would have wanted Zane to be saved before anything else. Her heart squeezed painfully as she whispered an apology to the memory of the woman she loved the most. The market buzzed with activity, vendors shouting prices, children chasing each other between stalls, customers arguing over the cost of vegetables. But Alina felt alone within the crowd, like a ghost drifting among the living. She found the small antique shop where she had once sold a broken watch for enough money to survive 2 days. The owner, a stout man with thick eyebrows, glanced up as she entered. His expression flickered from boredom to mild interest when he saw her. "You again," he said flatly. "What now?" She swallowed hard and placed the velvet pouch on the counter. He opened it, lifted the bracelet, and examined it with the cold efficiency of someone who cared only about profit. For a moment, he didn't speak. Then he shrugged. "I can give you, maybe 1,000. Her heart sank. 1,000 would buy some food and very basic medicine, but Zane needed better care. She had hoped it would be worth more. "Please," she whispered, "this is worth more than that. It's real silver. It belonged to my mother." He held up a hand, cutting her off. "Your memories don't increase its value. Take it or leave it." She hesitated, desperation clawing at her. She could feel tears burning behind her eyes, but she blinked them away. She would not cry in front of him. Slowly, she reached for the bracelet, intending to leave, but just then, another voice spoke from behind her. A deep, calm voice that carried authority without effort. "Excuse me, may I take a look at that?" The shopkeeper stiffened slightly as both he and Alina turned. A tall man stood near the entrance, wearing a dark coat, his expression unreadable yet striking. His presence commanded attention. His eyes were focused on the bracelet with an interest that surprised her. The shopkeeper forced a smile that hadn't been present a moment earlier. "Of course, sir. Please, come." The stranger stepped closer, and Alina could finally see his face clearly. Clean-cut features, intelligent eyes, and an air of someone used to making decisions that affected more people than he could count. She had no idea who he was, but the shopkeeper's sudden politeness suggested he was someone important. The man gently picked up the bracelet. Instead of simply examining its material, he looked at it as if it held a story he wanted to understand. His eyes flicked to Alina briefly, and something softened in his expression. "Where did you get this?" he asked. She hesitated. "It was my mother's," she said quietly. "She passed away. I need money for my brother's medicine." The man nodded slowly, as if her words confirmed something he had already suspected. He handed the bracelet back to her directly, bypassing the shopkeeper. "This is not something you should sell for scraps." Her fingers trembled slightly as she closed them around the bracelet. "I don't have a choice," she whispered, her voice cracking. The shopkeeper cleared his throat impatiently. "Sir, if you want to buy it." "How much?" the man interrupted, though his gaze remained on Alina. 5,000, the shopkeeper said quickly, inflating the price now that he sensed an opportunity. The man's eyebrow lifted. 5,000, he pulled out his wallet, took out a single checkbook card, and placed it on the counter. "Fine, write a receipt for 10,000. And give it to her, not me." The shopkeeper blinked, stunned. "Sir, 10 now. You heard me," the man said calmly. Alina stared at him, speechless, unable to process what had just happened. 10,000. That was more money than she had seen in one place her entire life. Enough for food, medicine, doctor visits, everything. But I can't let you just buy it for so much, she stammered. I'm not buying it, he said gently. I'm helping you. Your mother's memory is worth far more than you realize. She felt tears spill over, hot and uncontrollable. Why, she whispered, you don't even know me. He smiled, a small, kind smile that felt strangely familiar, like warmth from a fire she thought had gone out long ago. Sometimes we help not because we know someone, but because we know what pain looks like. And I've seen it in your eyes since the moment I walked in. When he left the shop moments later, Alina stood frozen, still clutching the bracelet and the envelope containing the money. She stepped outside, her breath fogging in the cold air, and saw him walking toward a sleek black car. She hurried after him. Wait, she called out. He paused. Thank you, she breathed. You saved my brother's life. He looked at her for a moment, really looked, and then nodded once. Take care of him, and take care of yourself. She expected him to get into the car and leave, disappearing from her life as quickly as he had appeared. But something unexpected happened. A phone rang inside his coat pocket. He answered it briefly, his expression shifting from calm to troubled. After ending the call, he sighed. My driver will come later, he said with a faint, tired smile. Seems like I'm walking. She didn't know why, but she took a step closer. Are you okay? For a moment, he looked almost vulnerable. Just a long day, he admitted. And a longer year. Against all expectations, they began walking in the same direction. He learned her name. She learned his. Ayan Malik. The name rang faint bells. She thought she had heard it somewhere before but couldn't place it. He didn't act like the wealthy men she occasionally saw in the market district. He talked to her like an equal, asked about her life, listened genuinely. But their paths separated at the old bridge, her way leading to her small apartment, his to the city center. He paused before leaving. If you need anything, he said, come to Malik Tower and ask for me. Don't hesitate. She nodded, but she knew she would never go. People like him didn't remain in the lives of people like her. Yet destiny had other plans. She returned home, rushing to Zane's side, feeding him warm soup and giving him the proper medicine she had bought. Slowly, his fever broke. By midnight, he was asleep peacefully for the first time in days. Relief washed over her so strongly that she cried into her hands, not from sadness but from the overwhelming weight of gratitude. Days passed, and life slowly began to stabilize, at least a little. But Zane still needed better treatment, and Alina knew the money she had would run out eventually. So she began searching for work again. Rejected, rejected, rejected. Every door she knocked on remained closed. Her lack of formal education became a barrier she couldn't climb. But she refused to give up. Then one morning, she heard a knock on her door. It was a young man in a suit. Are you Miss Alina? He asked politely. Yes, Mr. Ayan sent me. He'd like to see you at Malik Tower. Her heart skipped. She hadn't expected him to remember her. With hesitation and a mix of fear and curiosity, she followed the man to the towering glass building that cut into the skyline like a blade of light. Inside, marble floors gleamed. Employees walked briskly, confidence radiating from them like perfume. She felt out of place, but she reminded herself she had faced far worse than intimidating hallways. Ayan was waiting for her in his office, spacious, bright, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. He stood when she entered. I'm glad you came, he said warmly. Please, sit. She did, her nerves tight. Why am I here? He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. I've been looking for someone with sincerity, honesty, strength, someone who knows real hardship yet hasn't let it turn them cold. He met her gaze. I want to offer you a job. She stared at him, stunned. A job? Doing what? At my foundation. He walked to his desk and handed her a folder. We help families in need, education, housing, medical care. I want you to join us. You understand their struggles better than most. Her throat tightened. But I don't have a degree. I don't have experience. You have compassion, he said simply. That's something money can't buy and schools rarely teach. Her eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to say. Say yes, he said gently. And she did. Her first few weeks were difficult. Learning procedures, attending meetings, reviewing cases, it overwhelmed her at first. But Ayan was patient, guiding her personally. He believed in her even when she didn't believe in herself. Slowly, she grew confident. She helped families, visited hospitals, arranged supplies for those who couldn't afford them. Every time she saw relief on someone's face, she remembered the day Ion had saved her and Zane. But something else happened, something neither of them expected. Their bond deepened. Conversations about work turned into conversations about life. She learned that Ion had lost his younger sister years ago, and the grief had never loosened its hold on him. He carried guilt, believing he could have saved her. His success in business had not healed that wound. His loneliness wasn't visible from the outside, but she saw it in the quiet moments. One evening, after returning from a long field visit, he stopped beside her as she organized case files. "You work too hard," he said softly. She smiled. "Says the man who never rests." He chuckled. "Fair enough." Then his expression softened. "I'm glad you're here, Alina. You've brought something into this place that I didn't realize was missing." Her heart skipped. "Hope," she teased lightly. He held her gaze. More than that, their connection grew slowly but undeniably. Not forced, not rushed, real, but life, as always, had challenges waiting. One day, their foundation uncovered a case involving a powerful politician misusing funds intended for impoverished communities. When Ion decided to expose him, threats followed. Bribes were offered. Intimidation began. Some trusted employees turned out to be corrupt. The pressure mounted. Alina watched Ion struggle under the weight of responsibility and danger. She stood by him, refusing to step away even when it became risky. He warned her more than once. "You don't have to be involved in this," he said. "Yes, I do," she replied firmly. "People are suffering. You taught me that standing up for them is the right thing. I won't back down now." Together, they gathered evidence, faced public backlash, and endured sleepless nights. But in the end, truth prevailed. The politician was exposed, funds were redirected to the people who needed them, and the foundation's reputation strengthened. Through this storm, their bond became unshakable. But the greatest challenge came unexpectedly. Zane's condition worsened. A rare underlying illness revealed itself, requiring expensive treatment abroad. Alina broke down, terrified. "I can't lose him," she cried in Ion's office. "I don't care what it takes." Without hesitation, Ion stood and took her trembling hands. "You won't lose him. I'll make sure he gets the best care. But the cost doesn't matter," he said firmly. "He's family, and family is never a burden." Her tears flowed harder. This was the moment she realized it wasn't just gratitude she felt for him. It was something deeper, something that had quietly grown roots in her heart. Ion made all arrangements personally. He traveled with them, stayed beside them during the surgery, and comforted her when fear nearly consumed her. After long, agonizing hours, the doctor finally emerged with a smile. The surgery was successful. Alina collapsed into tears of relief as Ion caught her gently, holding her as she sobbed against him. When she looked up, his own eyes were glistening. "You saved him," she whispered. "No," he said softly. "You saved him the day you refused to give up." Months passed. Zane recovered completely, healthy for the first time in years. Alina returned to work with renewed purpose, dedicating herself to helping others the way Ion had helped her. Then one evening, as the sun dipped behind the skyline, painting the city gold, Ion asked her to meet him on the rooftop of Malik Tower. When she arrived, he stood near the edge, hands in his pockets, looking thoughtful. "I've been meaning to tell you something," he said when she approached. She smiled softly. "You're scaring me." He turned toward her, his eyes warm. "You came into my life on a day I thought I had nothing left to give. I was tired, worn, lost. But you reminded me of compassion, courage, and hope. You brought light where I had let shadows grow." Her heartbeat quickened. He continued, voice steady. "I don't know exactly when it happened. Maybe when you first smiled after saving your brother. Maybe when you stayed up all night helping me expose corruption. Maybe when I saw you crying in the hospital and realized your pain mattered to me more than anything. But I know now that I care for you. Deeply." She felt tears gathering again, but this time they weren't from pain. "Ion, I don't want to help you from a distance anymore. I want to walk through life beside you. If you feel the same." She stepped closer, her voice trembling with emotion. "I do. I didn't want to admit it at first. I thought we were too different. I thought you were too far above me. But you never made me feel small. You lifted me when I had fallen so far I couldn't see the light. My heart, it chose you long before my mind understood it." A gentle smile spread across his face. "Then stay with me, not because I helped you. Not because of kindness, but because you want to." She reached up and touched his cheek softly. "I want nothing more." Under the fading light of sunset, he pulled her into his arms, holding her as if afraid to ever let go. And she knew, deep in her soul, that this was the beginning of a life she had never dared to dream of. Together, they continued building the foundation, helping thousands of families, opening shelters, sponsoring education, and rebuilding communities. Their story became known, not as a fairy tale of a poor girl and a rich man, but as a story of compassion, resilience, and human connection that transcended backgrounds and circumstances. Alina eventually started a program for struggling single parents, dedicating it to her mother. She kept the silver bracelet always, never as a symbol of poverty, but as a reminder of love, strength, and the day a stranger saw her worth when the world didn't. Years later, when Zayn graduated from university, he stood proudly in front of the crowd, his speech trembling with emotion as he looked at his sister and Ion. "I stand here today because my sister refused to give up," he said. "And because someone believed in her when she had nothing left but hope." The audience applauded. Alina squeezed Ion's hand, her heart full. Life had not given her an easy path, but it had given her something far more valuable, a chance to transform her suffering into strength, her struggles into purpose, and her lost hopes into a future filled with love. And every time she looked at the tiny star charm, she remembered her mother's words. She would shine one day. And she truly had.